who's going to talk about some of her experiences.
All right, so like I said earlier in my introduction, I started using Project Pals back in October. Another teacher was like, hey, I found this, you should try this out. So we decided to try it out. So I'm currently teaching at Mac Middle School. It is a Title I school in Vegas. We have a population of about 1,200 students, 100% free and reduced lunch, and 32% population is ELL. So, I mean, it's a very, it's a high at-risk environment. We do have the benefit that we are a one-to-one school. So all students are given a Chromebook to start out. So outside of the numbers, Mac, our principal really promotes us as a family. She promotes that we are builders of humans and making sure they're ready for the real world, even though we're still in the middle school, but getting them ready. So she's a huge proponent of project-based learning. So Project Pals falls into that. Flip mine. Thank you. The project, so one of the first, this is actually, it's kind of crazy. This is the very first project I did with my kids. I pulled off a template because I figured I want to just use a template. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. So because I teach history, we went with the historical template and we were learning about movement, and we looked at the bubonic plague and how it moved across Europe and China and how people were sick and all of that. And we did that as a whole group. And then our project was, not knowing what was coming down the road in a couple months, the project was our kids went and looked at different pandemics across the world. And so they were able to pull their key elements, and we looked at the event itself, and then we were able to look at the consequences of what happened because of that pandemic. We did eventually, when we started doing more projects, we did go ahead and we added like a vocabulary page in, because I have ELL learners, so that vocabulary and using that academic language is so important. So I was able to tweak the template more to fit our students' needs. So as I alluded, we went ahead and they did inquiry based. I believe they had the choice of, I think, 5 or 6 different pandemics: the Spanish flu, cholera, polio, and they went in and they researched that pandemic and compared it and looked at how like the bubonic plague impacted so much in, you know, early history. What about these current pandemics? So it was very interesting watching the kids as we went out on distance learning in March. A lot of my students came back and were like, remember when we did that pandemic thing? Remember we looked at that? And I was like, well, now what do you think needs to happen for this to be stopped? So it really gives them that real world. And we do, in Vegas, we do theme-based learning in social studies. So we don't teach history chronologically, we do themes. So I feel like project-based learning in Project Pals really lends itself to that. So I'm able to teach one area, and then the kids can explore the other themes, and then they're able to easily share that out to each other. So instead of me spending weeks on, you know, chronological history, the kids are able to actually self-learn and then teach their peers what they learned on different areas. So from a teacher's point of view, I absolutely love the real-time data. Yuri showed that. My kids love seeing it. It's competitive. Yuri said you can turn that off for the kids. I don't turn that off for the kids because my kids want to be the best. And so when they look at that pie chart and they see, hey, I only did 20% of the work on this project and my friend did 50, what can I do? And I find my kids going in, we don't do homework. Obviously now things have changed because of distance learning, but I could see my kids going in at night and you could see the graph going up because they wanted to make sure that they had added more. So they become a little competitive with it, which I think is good because then they're actually, you know, doing the work and learning the material that they need to. As I showed was a pre-done template that we used. I found it the easiest way to start any of my projects was to go from a pre-done template, and there's a ton in there on any subject, so it was really nice to go in as a teacher. I didn't have to create everything from scratch because I think like Yuri said, most of my project-based learning, I've done project-based learning in every grade level I've taught in. You're creating it or the kids are creating posters or that, and this gives that online component, so it just makes it easier because it's all in one place and it's contained. Project Pals is super user friendly. My kids are able to figure it out faster probably than I was, and they could show me, hey, look at, we can do this or we can show this, so it's user friendly for the kids and you're able to adapt it. my kids, I'm looking forward, I'm not looking forward to distance learning because we're just being thrown into this, but with the distance learning, I'm looking forward to being able to do collaboration with it. Like it's in real time, so I can group my kids and we can do like a Zoom meeting and they can work through a project together and I can be there to guide them or not there and they're able to work on their project. So that collaboration component, it's super important for our kids to be able to collaborate. In the real world, we all have to do it. So I think Project Pals gives you that ability to collaborate. And it also shows accountability. So my kids are accountable for what they're doing. When I would grade my projects, I would pull my kids. If the graph seemed way off, like I had one kid do all the work and nobody else in the group, I was able to pull the whole group and have a conference and say, hey, explain to me what happened here. Sometimes we had technology issues in the building where I had one kid's computer working and everybody else's wasn't. So they used that one computer for the day. And so that threw that accountability off, but then they could explain that to me. So that's super nice to have that piece. And the kids knew I was looking at it. So they're like, oh, wait, she's going to ask questions. So we need to be able to explain why did I only do 10%? Because I was having internet issues, but we worked through it, say on a Zoom meeting, and it worked out. And I also found my kids were a lot more engaged. I had more participation. My kids actually worked. So when I gave them a piece of paper and we did like a Avid one pager, they may not work, but I had very few times where I had to give a kid a 0 on a Project Pals because they all were willing to do something, which is super nice in this area.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you so much, Heather. We appreciate it. I'd love to ask you, a few questions kind of on, in terms of this upcoming fall and so much uncertainty, like how are you planning, right now, I guess, for what's coming ahead, and how you plan to engage your students for the fall?
So our district hasn't decided yet, but rumor on the street is we're starting the year on distance learning. And then I'm assuming we'll go into a hybrid model where the kids are on campus twice a week or, 2 days a week on a rotation. So like I was talking to my administrator, and once we do distance learning, like I'll just group my kids when we do Project Pals because that's an easy group. And I'll do class, like I'll meet with them in a Zoom, but once we get into the hybrid model, I compare, because we're going to do hybrid and we're going to allow parents to keep their kids at home. When we go to hybrid, I'm going to really work on pairing my kids across cohorts. So my kids in class and my kids at home, I'm actually going to partner them because I feel like it's beneficial. Like the kid in class has me, and then the kid at home has the kid in class. So we're able to easily collaborate. So we'll actually, have groups intermixing. So that's kind of my vision for the fall once we get to the hybrid model is to really mix my kids up. Normally I wouldn't mix my kids across classes, but Project Pals lends itself to that. And in these new times, I think and feel that as a kid is at home, it'd be nice for them to have somebody in their group on campus with a teacher. So when there are those questions, they can pull up a Zoom meeting and their Project Pals and work on it through with me in the room. So I'm really looking at going to that flipped classroom where I lecture at home and then working in the room on the project with somebody there to really guide them. That way when, parents, all our parents work, we're low income, they all have to work. They unfortunately cannot be home with our students. And that gives them that access all the time, no matter what's going on in the day.
So really using the students and kind of helping connect them through technology to be their support system, if the support system isn't there as much at home.
Yeah.
For if they're help working, etc. That's great to hear. And yeah, I think, you're right to know that, it's all kind of in the air right now. So you got to plan for the unexpected to an extent, but it seems like you guys have a good game plan coming for the fall. We'd love to open it up to some questions to the group. If anybody has any, please use the Zoom chat function over there. You can just